Welcome to the Bowel Chronicles, where we dive deep into the world of bowel health. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and on this podcast we have raw and candid conversations with individuals facing various bowel conditions and illnesses. Through personal stories and shared experiences, we illuminate resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Be reminded that each story is personal and unique. These conversations are not to be taken as medical advice or to replace guidance from a doctor or healthcare provider. Our aim is to inspire and empower through these amazing stories, amplifying voices often unheard. So join us as we embark on this journey together. Sit back, listen, and be inspired. Enjoy the episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bowel Chronicles. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and today we are joined by the lovely Bryony in Chesterfield. Am I right?
That's right, yeah.
Panicking there. I was like, is it Chester or Chesterfield? Chesterfield. Bryony, it's so lovely to have you here, share your story with us today. I am really, really excited for this. You are a pole fitness instructor. Look to be living a really good, healthy life on social media. But you also have a story of having a stoma bag, having multiple surgeries, being diagnosed with IBD, and it all hasn't been a bed of roses for you. So why don't you kick us off and tell us, I know you've been through so many surgeries, but how did your diagnosis of ulcerative colitis come about? How old were you?
So I was 17 when I got diagnosed, and it started off with like cold sores and mouth ulcers, which is quite strange, really.
Mhm.
But yeah, my lips were really swollen and inflamed, and I just got this just ulcers and cold sores everywhere, and kind of went to the doctors, and that was the route that we went down, and obviously had the camera and things like that, and that's how they found it. So it was a weird one with me, with it being in the mouth, but it's all one thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
So, like, pretty much straight away, they were looking at, is this inflammatory bowel disease, because it was all mouth ulcers and mouth sores, was it?
yes, I mean, I'm saying this, I was obviously 17 at the time, so I can't exactly remember if there were symptoms with um like obviously running to the toilet and things, but it was certainly the trigger was the mouth side of stuff and the pain and things. And obviously my mum was quite strongly involved at that point as well. um,
Mhm.
but I just remember having the camera, and I remember being you're kind of awake for them, aren't you? And I can remember kind of looking, and they were saying that your bowel should be the colour of the inside of your mouth. And I can remember looking at the screen where the camera is, and mine didn't look like that. It was very bloody, it was very ulcerated, it looked very poorly at the time.
Mhm.
And I can remember looking and thinking, this is not good. But I was so young as well, so it was all a bit of a, I don't think you can really understand things like that at such a young age, do you?
And was there inflammatory bowel disease in your family? Did anyone else have ulcerative?
No, nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing at all. I kind of got the short straw on that one. There's no bowel cancer, there's no Crohn's, there's no colitis, there's nothing at all.
So, what was their way of treating it then whenever you were 17?
So I started off on the usual prednisolone, the normal steroid treatments. I was taking like 8 steroids a day. I can remember quite a few lovely little hospital stays, 2, 3 weeks at a time, where I was up, with an IV going into me constantly alongside steroids. And I
Mhm.
had quite a lot of, I think it was like mercaptopurine, I want to say. And there was quite a few strong drugs that they tried me on over the years. But I guess your body just becomes used to them. And I was on them from being 17 to 25. And they did say to me that there was a big chance, as obviously I was getting older and things were getting worse, that there was always that chance that my body would just become immune to them, really. And that's kind of what happened. And it just got worse. It was stress with me, a lot of it, that triggered my, at the point where I went into hospital and had the first lot of surgery, it was stress.
Stress,
Hmm.
sadly. So, you went into hospital when 25, you said you were?
It was what, sorry?
You were 25?
Yes, I was 25 when I had my first lot of surgery. I was training to be a nurse, living in Leeds at the time. I was working behind a bar. I was at university. I was on placement a lot. Just trying to travel home at the weekends. I'd got a boyfriend at the time. I was trying to do my essays and all the uni stuff that I'd got going on. I was living in a house with 6 or 7 other people that didn't really understand that I was trying to be a nurse, and they might have got it easy at uni, but it wasn't easy for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, I went to an outpatient appointment, and the doctor basically just said, "You're a walking disaster. Either your bowel is going to perforate, or it could potentially end up cancerous. So you have to let us bring you in and treat you, because if it perforates, you've had it." Basically, I was 25. I was like, "Oh my god! Like, I've only come to a hospital appointment, and you're telling me this." I was on my own. And yeah, I was like, I remember ringing my mum, and she was like, "You're going to have to let them admit you," which was always my biggest fear from the amount of time I've spent in the hospital over the years. And yeah, they admitted me. And all I can really say is I woke up 3 days later in intensive care with no large bowel and an ileostomy. So whatever happened, it didn't work so great, I think, in the hospital. So yeah.
Right. So obviously it was some type of emergency surgery that had to be done. I, was there any indication that you would have a stoma? Was that ever part of your kind of mindset or thought process?
Think during the first lot of surgery, no, I can't really remember what happened. I just know that it was emergency surgery and it was done very quickly. Um, so I can't really tell you what happened at that point, but I certainly didn't expect to wake up with a bag on my stomach. I can tell you that now. It was quite a shock at that age.
Mhm. What was going on in your head, waking up, young 25?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I hated myself. I I hated myself. I used to sit on the edge of the bath at my mum's house, and I was just alien to everybody else. I that bag was all I saw. It was, yeah, it was just all I saw when I looked at myself in a mirror. I didn't look at Bryony. I didn't look at all the other things that I'd got going on. It was just a bag. It was a hard time, and I think being a very young person to go through it, and there being not a lot of awareness of it. Now you've got Primark with people with a bag, girls with a bag advertising underwear and things. There was nothing like that when I was younger.
Mhm.
So, I was just like, wow, like what's happened? Like who's this person looking back at me? And I think, when people have got, they have to have a pin in the leg or a stent in the heart. You can't see that, it's inside, but with a bag, it's outside, and it's poo as well. It doesn't smell great. There's all the minging things that come with it. And it was a lot. It was a hell of a lot. And then alongside that, I wasn't able to go back to uni, because of me being so poorly and the series of operations that I had to have and things like. There was so much other, mental kind of psychological things that I was dealing with, as well as, in my head, it took my life away from me, I think, in many ways. Now I've got a different output on that, but back then I couldn't see. Is it the wood for the trees? Is it the wood? I couldn't see the wood for the trees, let's say. So yeah.
Wow. So after you'd had that surgery, did you get your head around it? Did life kind of kick back in?
My mum was my absolute angel. I can't tell you how much my mum means to me. She's my rock. And I wouldn't be half the person I am today if it wasn't for my mum picking me up every single time when I was rock bottom. And I still have those days now, but I think I'm better at dealing with them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did start to get my head round it, but I think I only got my head round it because I knew that you know, that it was going to get reversed. I was constantly thinking, right, I've just got to get through the next day and get the pouch done, and then I'll get better after that, and then we'll get the reversal done. Like, my get up and go was knowing that eventually I would get that bikini body back, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So initially it was the ileostomy that they did with the view of having it reversed.
Yes. So I
Uh,
had the J pouch, yeah.
so you went ahead and had J pouch done then? How
Yes, so
long,
I
how
had
long
the
did it
J
last?
pouch about 8 or 9 months later, I think, which was an eight-hour laparoscopic. I think at the time there's only Leeds and Manchester that did that surgery. Like, it was quite new, the J pouch at the time. Um,
Tell us, just in case anyone else is listening here today and they don't understand what a J pouch is, just talk us through what that is.
so a J pouch is where they take a section of your small intestine and shape it into a J so that the J acts as the large bowel that they've removed, and then they join it up to the rectum. So it's just using part of your small bowel to create a large bowel that you've not got anymore. So it's man-made basically.
Mhm.
Which obviously I had to be tested for Crohn's as well at that time, because you can't do anything like that for someone that had got Crohn's. And that came back as all clear, which was 1+. So yeah, I went and had the J pouch, which was fun. You have to literally go to the toilet every 2 hours and 3 hours and 4 hours, and you've got to literally, to train the bowel to kind of go when it needs to go. So that was eventful.
Strange after having a bag for so many months. You're now training the bowel to work again.
Yeah, it's weird.
You had no stoma. Your stoma.
So when I had the J pouch, I had a ileostomy.
Yeah.
So this was the whole rest in the bowel thing while the pouch is healing in my stomach.
Okay.
So I still had the ileostomy at that time, but it went from a loop to an end, I want to say. I think it was that way around. So I don't know, some different kind of ileostomy that I had. But yeah, the problem with that is the passing of the mucus and everything like that. So yeah, it was fun.
That was all going on when you were trying to heal from the J pouch.
Yeah.
Oh, disaster. Complete disaster.
So I had the J pouch surgery, and then obviously they let that all heal, and then they reverse the bag back to normal and connect it back to the rectum on the very last surgery, which was 20 minutes. It's not a big operation. But yeah, it comes with the training of the pouch, the mucus that you pass in. You've not had a poo for like the best part of 18 months. What's that going to feel like? I didn't know what to expect at that time.
Did you feel better because you'd had your stoma reversed? That wasn't visible on your body. You were healing. You maybe had a scar.
I remember waking up, and the first thing that I said in recovery to the nurse was it gone? Is it gone? And she said, it is. And I was like, can I see? 'Cause I almost didn't believe that it was real, that it wasn't there anymore. And it had gone.
Mhm.
It was a strange feeling, strange but good at the time. I
Yeah.
think I kind of very quickly learned that it wasn't going to be the way for me. So,
So tell us a little bit about the J pouch then. What was that like to live with?
so the J pouch, I was suffering quite frequently with something called pouchitis, which is basically inflammation of the pouch. So it's very similar to colitis, but without the ulcers. Just constantly inflamed, a lot of stomach cramps, a lot of blood and mucus passing. I couldn't control when I was going to the toilet. I was soiling myself all the time. I was actually going to the toilet more with the pouch than I was when I had ulcerative colitis. And I think at one point it was like 30 plus times a day. It was shocking.
Mhm. That is
Mm.
crazy. Absolutely crazy to go from, when it's supposed to better you
Yeah.
and change things up. How?
That's the difficult thing. I think that, yeah, you're right. This is supposed to be helping me, but it was actually, it was all I ever wanted, yet all it felt like it was taking my life away
Mhm.
again.
That confining you back to the house and not being able to do stuff and what?
My life evolved around a toilet. I can't go if it's a toilet. I didn't want to go to a festival. I went to Creamfields with my friends when I was younger, and it was the worst thing I ever did. I spent the whole weekend in the tent because the toilets were just disgusting. It's a festival. What do you expect? But when you've kind of got everything going off, what I've got going off as well, like when you've got to go, you've got to go. And people are not understanding in situations like that. Everybody needs the toilet. Everybody wants to, there's no pushing in or exceptional circumstances. It was just, yeah, my life was just, yeah, I just lived a life around toilets and the security, because the anxiety and the panic attacks that came with that, if I couldn't go to the toilet or I couldn't go when I needed to go. It was just not worth going out. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to go anywhere. I just hated it. I hated myself. I hated this disease, and I hated the fact that it was just completely controlling my life.
Mhm. What was the surgeon's answer or consultant's answer? Once you've been through your J pouch surgery and this was still going on, what was their
So
answer?
their attitude was it was perfect. I was like, well, mechanically, maybe it was, on a scan, it probably does look fantastic. But for me as an individual, I'm telling you that it's not working, and it isn't working for me. My body doesn't like it. And it was at that point where I asked for a second opinion, and I got transferred from Leeds to which was St James's, which is supposed to be a bowel specialist hospital, I think, back to the Northern General in Sheffield, and it was the best thing that I ever did
Why was it the best thing you ever did?
because they actually listened to me. I'm someone who's had ulcerative colitis for a long time, three massive operations. I know my body better than anybody, really.
Mhm.
And he actually sat there, and Mr. Chappell, and he listened to me, and I think he could see that I'd had enough. I actually, for the first time in all my life, recognized that I actually had more of a life with a bag than I did without one, and it was all I wanted. I just wanted that bikini body back. That was all I cared about. But I very soon realized at the age of about 28 that the quality of life wasn't there anymore, and I couldn't carry on living like this. Like I had to do something about it. And it got to the point where I just said, give me my bag back, because I had a quality of life, and I just didn't see a way forward anymore for me.
Do you agree?
Yeah, he basically advised that, there's one in so many people where, the body just doesn't agree with it. It's something that they've created. It's man made, and my body was just rejecting it in its own way. So yeah, he removed all the pouch, which was another rather lengthy surgery. I think my mum by this point was getting pretty fed up of the hospital hours where she's paced up and down waiting to know whether I'm all right or not. Bless her. But they removed all the J pouch, which is obviously quite a large amount of my small bowel, and gave me the ileostomy back. And they did it in the same place as well. So I was kind of like, I didn't want like more scars. So they was very good in the sense that they said, look, if we can put it in the same place as where your other one was, then you're
Mhm.
not going to have like numerous ileostomy scars. And they did actually manage to put it in the exact same place as my old one. So it's always been exactly where it is.
Wow, amazing.
It's rather pale under there, though, from the holidays, and it doesn't see a lot of sunlight. So when I take it off, I've just got this like white circle on my belly.
Yeah, I remember coming back from holiday and doing a bag change and going, "Whoa, you've got a
Yeah,
sun."
yeah, that's how you know whether you've got white bits or not. Just look
Yeah,
where the bag should go.
yeah. So you've had the permanent ileostomy done, the J pouch removed. What has life been like on the other side of it for you?
I still found it hard. I think up until probably last year, I've still always I've always seen a bag instead of Bryony. It's took me a long, long time to come out of the other side with that.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about what made me change, and what made me realize, I guess. But yeah, I've always struggled with having a bag. I've always been that person. I always got taught, don't be a sheep. If you like it, wear it. It's not as easy as that when you've got a bag. People might think that, but it's not. And I lived a life of wearing control pants for years, and the stomach, like the stomach bands, what you can get, the comfy stomach bands and things. I literally wouldn't leave the house without one on, because I wanted to suck that bag to my stomach so nobody knew it were there. Not that they knew it were there anyway, but in my head, everybody knew I'd got that bag. Like they could see that I had a bag. So
Mhm.
it was always pretty tough. But I think a lot of that was the lack of support that I had around me. Like I say, I had my mum, and my friends were always amazing, but I didn't really have stoma nurses. There's not really a lot of support like there is now.
Mhm.
So I just had to just kind of plod through it on my own with my mum telling me I'm beautiful on the inside and the outside every day, bless her. She still says it to me now.
Why wouldn't you?
And oh, she's biased, isn't she? I tell her all the time, say, Mum, you're biased. You've got to say that because I'm your daughter. Bless her.
Not at all. So what happened a year ago that flipped the switch?
So a year ago, I obviously I teach pole fitness in Mansfield and Chesterfield for an amazing lady called Stacey and a company called Mission Studios. And we are just a massive community of women that just want to empower women and men that want to empower one another, pick each other up, no matter the size, the shape, nothing doesn't matter. We're all just, yeah, it's just beautiful. And I started pole fitness again with one of my best friends. And shortly after being there, they asked me to, would you want to go down the instructor route? And I was like, oh my God, I'd left my ex-husband at the time and I was going through quite a lot. And I was almost a shadow of myself. I kind of lost myself a little bit, I think, during that relationship. He wasn't necessarily the most supportive person when it come to having a bag, which made me feel like I had to hide it even more, I think, quite a lot of the time. Um, but that's by the by. So obviously I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's do this. So I took the role. I did all the training, and I've been teaching there now for 3 years at the end of this month. And my students last year kept saying to me, there was a beauty pageant that was running in the Derbyshire area, and my students kept saying to me, you have to enter it. Like, you're such an inspiration. You must enter. And I was like, oh no, I'm not I'm not into that thing. Like, I would rather have another 10 minutes in bed than I stick my eyelashes on driving to work and on a morning. Like, I'm not one of these that no, I seriously do. Like, literally I stick my eyelashes on in the car because I'm not this contour, it's not for me. So I was like, oh, and they was like, no, you really need to, like, you really need to do it. And I was like, right, you know what, let's do it. So I applied for it and I actually got through to the final, which I didn't expect to do. But I got picked for the final, and there was a black dress round, there was a swimsuit round, and there was a ball gown round. And I was in the classic section, the over 30s, that kind of thing. And obviously I did a synopsis and things like that. And a big part of why I teach pole is because I know what it feels like not to like what you see when you look in a mirror. And a lot of those girls and ladies that walk into that studio, they feel exactly the same. They're in there for a reason. They want to lose a bit of weight, or they want to get a bit stronger, or they just want to build the confidence. And I feel that on so many levels. And people might not think that when they look at me, but trust me, I do. And I just think if I can teach pole and make people feel good about themselves, no matter what size, what shape, what they look like, who they are, just whatever, if I can make them feel just a little bit better when they walk out than they did when they walk in, then I will do it all day long. And I think my students know that, like, they've got my heart. I will always be the biggest cheerleader. So anyway, we're doing this competition, and the big thing for me was the swimsuit round. And I was adamant that I was gonna show my bag, because it's not something I've ever done. So I go on holiday, I've always wore high-waisted bikinis. I've never been this confident person that'll lay on a sunbed with my bag out. And my other half last year when we were in Portugal, he'd gone up to the room and he'd come back down, I was laid on the sunbed, and I like glanced up and he'd stuck a stoma bag to his stomach, and he was like, look, because he knows obviously it's difficult for me. And this was about 2 years ago, we're still together. And he just said, look, you wear one, I wear one. And he laid on the sunbed with that bag on all day. And like I say, I've never been that person that sat there and had it out for everyone to see. I've always not eaten to make sure it's not filling up so that you can't see it in a bikini. I've always been so conscious of it. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. So I made sure that I picked kind of a swimsuit that showed the bag. And in a nutshell, I was absolutely in bits before I even went out. I was so upset. I was so scared. I was shaking. All the girls were like, come on, you've got this. Like, they knew how much it meant to me. And, I went out there, and I've got the photo on my phone because obviously we had all the professional photos done. And I walked out there in front of those judges, And I pointed to my bag, and I made such a big deal out of that bag. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset now, but I pointed to it and I was like, yeah, I bossed it. And I walked off and I did my cheeky little catwalk as I was going, and I walked off the stage and everyone was clapping. Everyone had got so much love because they knew how hard it was for me. And I got the photos through from Miss Mansfield, and it was one photo of me. And for the first time in 36 years, I looked at that photo and I didn't see a bag. I saw Bryony. And it was just like, wow. I didn't once look at that bag, and it was there. It was there for everyone to see. But I didn't see the bag. And it took me this long to look at a photo of me and think, damn, girl, it is so much more to you than that bag.
Yeah.
And I wish now that I know I can't turn back time, and I wouldn't miss inspirational. I wouldn't miss social media. And I was a couple of points off the crown. But for me, all I wanted was Miss Inspirational. Like, that's my thing. I just want to inspire people. And, you know, I look back now and I think, I wish I'd not walked out and pointed to that bag. You know, nobody was bothered. You know, I finally learned that the only person that has ever made a big deal out of that bag is me. And I see that now, and it's crap in a sense that it's took a beauty pageant as such to make me realise that. But I will always be so proud of myself that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I do go on holiday, and if my bag's showing a little bit, I'm fine with that. You know, if I need to empty it on the sunbed with a little bag and some baby wipes, I'll do it. And I've never been like that before. But a big part of when I was there was a little girl in the audience, and at the end of the show, when I came down, she came up to me with her mum. Her name's Lottie, and she's got a stoma as well. And she basically said, could my daughter have a picture with you, because she just thinks to her you're just a Disney princess. She just wants to be just like you. And she's like 11-year-old. And for me, I knew I'd won that pageant at that point. And I will always be so proud that I did it, because the way I've inspired that little girl, and we still keep in touch now. She's recently had some surgery. I made a Build-A-Bear for her and sent her, I called it Stoma Berry Fairy. And she takes it everywhere with her. And I've had pictures of Lottie now in her bikinis. I get a little catwalk. She's got all her new outfits for a holiday, and because she wants to be just like me. And I never thought that would be me that's having that effect on people. And it's just now that outweighs the fact of having the bag, despite the good days and the bad days. It's it's a nice feeling to know that like I say, I went through a lot with how I felt about myself, and I had my mum. The support network wasn't there, and I wouldn't want anyone to ever feel the way I felt. And for that reason, I will do anything I can to just, even if it's just being an ear or just a hug or just to listen, whatever. Like, I wouldn't want anyone, especially a little girl like Lottie, to ever feel the way I felt when I was going through it. You know, it's tough. And there's days now when I still struggle. You know, I had a leak the other day. I got in from work, and I just felt warmth, and I was like, this is not good. And it was just everywhere. And I mean, probably one of the worst leaks I've had in all the years. And you still sit and cry. Like, it's just the dignity and the everything just goes out the window, doesn't it, when you've got an ileostomy. But I guess now I see that the good outweighs the bad. And the truth is that bag saved my life. And I think I have to appreciate that, rather than, yeah, I've got to learn to be friends with it. And I think I'm starting to, certainly, definitely this last 12 months. Definitely.
I know from just looking at your social media, I mean, it comes across to me like you're someone who's bossing Stoma life. You know, your pool pictures, professional pictures you've had done, your pageant pictures, you know, all of that
I
comes
think it's
across.
important people see that, you know, it's a happy face or a smile can hide a lot. And I still have good days and bad days. Sometimes the bad days outweigh the good, and vice versa. But I have got such an incredible support network around me. You know, friends, and I'll keep mentioning my mum, but honestly, I love her so much. And I wouldn't be who I am today without that woman. Genuinely, she's got me through so much. But obviously, the girls at Mission, and they gave me a new lease of life. They gave me a purpose.
Mm.
And for that I'll always be grateful, but there's always more to a smile or a
Yeah,
pretty face, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
sometimes you have to look a little bit beyond that, and I think it's important that people see that it's certainly not all rainbows and glitter when you've got an ileostomy. I'll always live with chronic pain. It's took a lot away from me. um and yeah, I might do pole, but there's a lot that I do limit, what I do, because I don't want a hernia and I don't want to pull my stomach, and I have to be careful.
mhm,
The anemia that I've suffered with. I had more small intestine removed in March last year due to anemia. So I'd got an anastomosis, I think it is, where I'd got staples between my small intestine, and it was just ulcerated and bleeding, and I was just anemic all the time, and the exhaustion was just something else. So they had to go in and just take another like 6-7 inch of bowel away. So as quick as you think that things are getting better, something else crops up, and
mhm.
and it kind of it takes over a little bit, but you've just got to keep plodding on, haven't you? You know yourself. It's
Yeah.
the
Oh,
world.
it's
The world
not.
doesn't owe me anything because I've got a stoma and I've been poorly. I just think it's took enough of my life away with the nursing degree and the years that I lost. When I was quite young, and I'm certainly not going to let it take anything else from me now. And I'm just going to keep. I'll keep fighting. I'll keep
Oh, yeah.
fighting.
You said you were the bag doesn't rule you.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
I
I
really like
think as
that.
well though, so like now, like I only found out, and this is what when I say to you about the support network and things, I don't think that it's that good. I mean, I only found out, I think it was about a year, 2 years ago, that you can have your stoma bags cut. So I was still there with a pair of scissors, just chopping the bags away, and into the circles, because I wasn't actually ever told that it was my best friend who got diagnosed with colitis, and she too went through the pouch surgery, and she's had it reversed. It's been successful for her. But she was like, "You do know you can have your bags cut." And I was like, never knew. So I think it's little things like that where there's so much more available to people that have got a stoma, but I think sometimes it's like you've got a stoma now, so off you go, get on with your life. And it's not as easy as that, is it? And there's new things coming out all the time, but I think it can be quite forgotten.
It can be forgotten as well, and I think if you just left to kind of your own devices, then you wouldn't know things like
Mm.
having your bag cut to size. It doesn't
The
work out.
black bags as well. Like now, when I did Miss Mansfield, I was still wearing the grey bags. I didn't even know that they come in a different colour. Whereas now, the black ones, for me, that's massive. Like how that makes me feel just wearing the black stoma bag instead of, the grey ones that I had previously been using. Like little things like that where you can kind of wear you've got different options of what you can wear because you've got a different coloured stoma bag that you can kind of put with it, you know what I mean? And that was only literally, it was about 6 months ago that I found out about the black stoma bags and changed to them. That's probably another part of the confidence that's kind of come in, because
Yeah.
you can see it a lot more when it's grey, you know what I mean? But you know yourself, when it's black or it's skin coloured, it's easier to kind of just, tuck away, isn't it?
I've always wore black right from the start. I think maybe once or twice during my year I've had a stone colored bag on, but generally it's black. It goes with everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Morticia Adams, that's my vibe. Black everything.
So whenever you're going out for the evening or going out, do you tend to hide it, cover it up, or would you let your bag show?
Um, no, if I'm going out, so I try to wear whatever I want. So I will wear skimpy dresses. I will wear whatever. I said to you earlier, I used to wear control pants all the time.
Mhm.
Now, very rarely I wear them. Like I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. If you can see the line of it, you can see the line of it. But I wouldn't particularly have it out for people to see. Although when I'm on holiday, I'm kind of getting to that point now where, I used to have a thing where the high-waisted bottoms, they had to go right above my belly button because that was hiding the bag completely. Whereas now, the ones that I get, they're like £6 off Shein. They're not expensive, but they sit kind of just below my belly button. So the circular bit at the top does show, but you know what? I'm all right with that. And that for me is the start, Um, and like I say, just emptying it if I need to, when you're on a sunbed, or you're at the beach or whatever, you can't just go to a toilet. So I always make sure I've got plenty of baby wipes and little black bags. And I'm not afraid now to just think, you know what, I've got to do. If a baby needed its nappy changing, you change its nappy. So if I need to empty my bag, I will empty my bloody bag. And I'm getting there now, but I'm certainly not someone who'd go running up and down the street showing it off. You know what I mean?
Wow, what a journey you've been on. I absolutely love that it's been kind of a really personal journey the last year of finding your confidence, finding you again, seeing yourself rather than seeing the bag. Anyone out there who has a stoma who says it doesn't bother them, show me them because they're lying.
I agree.
I knew I was having my surgery done. I tried to come to terms with it for the year beforehand of accepting it. It's still a shock every day. It's still a moment of you're here forever. Like it's you and me. This is how it's
Mhm.
always going to be. Even though I know how much life is better, and I remember what life was like beforehand, it's still
Doesn't make it any easier, does it?
it doesn't. It doesn't. But I very quickly move out of that headspace when I know what I'm doing and I'm leaving the house and I don't have to make plans of where the nearest bathroom is and all of that.
Mm.
That life is a lot better, definitely a lot better. But it doesn't take away from the fact that my body has changed. I look differently and kind of accepting that.
I think, like you said, you can't let. I try not to let the bag rule me. And there's if I like a dress, I'll wear it. You know what I mean? I just think just do it. Life's too short. Definitely life's too short. So I just try to not let it rule my life anymore because I think ulcerative colitis ruled my life for a long, long time and it's just not going to happen anymore. I'm lucky that in a sense the disease is gone because they've removed it, but I still live with the arthritis in the hips and the pain and everything else that comes with it, the joint pain and so on. I'll never get rid of that side, but at least I'm not soiling myself in public and having a panic attack because I don't know where the toilet is and so on. So now I can poo while I'm talking to you, you know what I mean? There's not who can say that. Not a lot of people can.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. Don't even have to excuse yourself from the dinner table.
Oh, I know, I know. Yeah,
Oh,
it's the Barbie bum and the bag is it's given me my life back, and I'm finally in a position where I'm old enough to recognize that and agree with it. And I think a big part of that is finally meeting someone that has showed me that there is so much more to me than that bag, and actually treats me in a way that makes me realize that as well. And I think he's a big part of that too.
yeah.
You know. We went on holiday at Christmas and I was in so I'd had mushrooms. I was in this Italian beautiful food. It was like this truffle, oh my god, this pasta, it was incredible. But my bag was just like, this was not good. And I'd used the two that I'd always took a spare. I'd used the two spares and I was just getting to a point where I think when you've had sun creams and stuff on it wasn't going to stick. It was just like, no. And I came out of the toilet and I just looked at him and he was just like, I knew with that look, we've got to go. It wouldn't stick to my stomach. So we'd got all this toilet roll. It was like a 25-minute walk back to the hotel. And we was literally, I'd got toilet roll like stuffed in my down in my tummy, and we kept stopping at the bin and swapping fresh toilet, getting rid of the toilet roll, putting fresh in, and literally 25 minutes walking as quick as we can. And 3-4 years ago, I would have had an absolute meltdown. There would have been a panic attack. It would have been, yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of tears because it is embarrassing and it is hard, but. Yeah, we did it. We did it together, and I wouldn't have handled it like that if it wasn't for him. So I think it's always good to find your person as well. You know what I mean? So that's helped a lot. He'll not be
Making,
saying that when it leaks in the night and I cover him in poo, you know what I mean? But we'll deal with that when that happens.
I like to wind my husband up. I've said it a few times before, but I'll just come up behind him if he's cheeky, and comes off with a one-liner. I just literally whip my bag out and go, "You'll get shit on from a great height."
Shit for luck. Put
Yeah,
lottery on. But yeah,
that's
it's all
super.
good. We've just got to get on with it, haven't we?
That's it.
There's so many people that are so worse off, and the fact that I get to wake up and tell this story is a blessing. So that's what I'll carry on doing.
Wow, Bryony, it's been so good to hear your story with us today. If there was a little piece of advice, and I know you've give a lot there, if there was something you could tell your younger self, what would it be?
Just I wish I would never have let that bag dull my sparkle, because I let it dull my sparkle for so many years. And yeah, there is just so much there's just so much more to me than that bag. And yeah, yeah, I think that's it really. Don't let the bag rule you. Just get on with it. Life's too short, and yeah, just know that there is so much more to you and life than that bag. Don't let it rule your life.
You rule the bag.
Hmm. I do now. I try anyway. Unless I've had mushrooms and then it's the other way around.
Oh, Bryony, yet again, thank you so much for giving time out of your evening to come on and share your story with us. Bryony's Instagram and TikTok handles will be posted below in the show notes. So do go over, follow her, watch her journey there on social media. And if there's any questions that you have in relation to any of her surgeries, ileostomy surgery, J pouch surgery, reversal surgery, Barbie butt surgery, permanent surgery, do shoot her a question across, and I'm sure she will answer. Likewise, fire me a question across, and I will get it answered for you. We're not professionals, we're just sharing our own journeys, guys. So if you have anything going on today, and you possibly think you're suffering with IBD, go and seek medical advice, speak to the professionals, to have some tests done, and always advocate for yourself and push, because at the end of the day, you know your body best. So go and get those investigations done. Again, Bryony, thank you. A pleasure has
Thank
been all
you.
mine. I wish you every luck with Mission Studios and your instructing and any more competitions that should come your way. Make sure you let
No
me.
more beauty pageants for me. That was it. I'm done with that. It's too much. I can't cope. It's the makeup and the hair, and it's just not for me. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Right, guys, that's us for today. It's over and out from Bryony and myself. Do come back next week to join us for another episode. But until then, it's goodbye.